For 8 years, she kept saying we'd get married until I found her wedding photos with her childhood friend. It was just a joke, she said, slapping me. But here's the kicker, that joke forced me to quit my just passing time job, study design, and now I'm a tech CEO. Just wait and see how my revenge destroys her perfect life and the dark secret behind her true love. You were my first love and my forever love. I looked at the social media feed she'd forgotten to block me from, calmly liking and commenting, best wishes for your future together. The next second, the photo vanished, and my girlfriend furiously called me. Ethan, can you stop making a scene? I was just joking. Why are you taking it seriously? If you don't want this anymore, let's break up. When I scrolled past Tiffany and her childhood friend's wedding photos, I was explaining to Ethan's parents why I still couldn't marry Tiffany this year. Seeing them in the photo, holding their marriage certificate with happy smiles, I was instantly speechless. On the other end, Ethan's parents were still lecturing me. Tiffany has been with you for 8 years. She's given you the best years of a girl's life. What could be more important than getting married? Meanwhile, Tiffany's caption read, "You were my first love and my forever love." I found it utterly uninteresting. Tiffany and I had been together for 8 years, from college to our professional lives, and Ethan's parents constantly urged us to marry. I also really wanted to marry Tiffany and build a home with her, but Tiffany had an anti-marriage stance. Her parents' infidelity when she was young had left her with a distrustful and pessimistic view of relationships. I felt sorry for her situation and didn't want to pressure her. No matter how much I wanted to get married, I wished for her happiness more. I also didn't want Ethan's parents to have any negative opinions of her. Every time they urged us to marry, I would rack my brain to make excuses for her, always telling them that it was I who didn't want to get married. I never imagined. Today was also our anniversary. I looked at the social media feed she'd forgotten to block me from, saved the image, and took a screenshot. Then I threw the candlelight dinner and roses I had prepared into the trash. After that, I calmly liked and commented, "Best wishes for your future together." The next second, the photo was gone. Tiffany had deleted it, then she called me, furious. "Ethan, are you sick? Stop making a scene, okay? Work is already annoying enough, and I have to deal with your passive-aggressive behavior." I heard the noisy background on her end, along with an electronic voice announcing a number. My heart sank completely. I asked, "Where are you?" Tiffany grew more impatient, lowering her voice to shout, "What are you checking up on me for? I told you Chad and I getting married was just a joke. It's a sham marriage." I was just joking. Why are you taking it seriously? I could imagine Tiffany's expression on the other end of the phone, furious and disdainful. Then, on her end, Tiffany softened her tone and said a few words to Chad. "It's nothing. I don't know why he's making a scene." I couldn't hear clearly. Only that one sentence. Just as I was about to hang up, Tiffany suddenly said, "If you don't want this anymore, then let's break up. But don't expect me to come back." She was certain I'd be terrified and then beg her on my knees for forgiveness. In the past, whenever she got angry, she would threaten to break up, and every time she did, I begged her on my knees for forgiveness. But this time, I calmly said, "All right, let's break up then." Tiffany froze, surprised that I had agreed to the breakup so decisively this time. She panicked for a moment, then seemed to realize something and scoffed coldly. "Ethan, you've grown, haven't you? You know how to play hard to get now." With that, she hung up. I stared blankly at the dark phone screen for a while. The black screen reflected my vacant eyes. My hair was messy, with a piece of vegetable stuck in it. If Tiffany saw me, she would be embarrassed, even if we were alone. Tiffany had always found being with me embarrassing, because I only busied myself with mundane domestic matters, always discussing with her how grocery store prices had risen today, or sharing how we'd put too much salt in the food again. As for her favorite perfumes, lipsticks, or her work, I knew nothing about these, and Tiffany was too lazy to explain. I removed the piece of vegetable and smoothed my hair in the mirror. The man in the mirror looked haggard, a sight that instantly made one dislike him. I recalled the wedding photo. Chad in the picture was handsome and stylish, a perfect match for Tiffany. No wonder Tiffany was willing to abandon her anti-marriage stance. I sat on the sofa, unsure of what to do. It was 3 in the afternoon. Normally, by this time, I would be in the kitchen, tending to a pot of soup. Tiffany had a sensitive stomach and often suffered from gastric issues, so I spent a lot of time making soup for her every day. But now that we had broken up, there was no need to do these things for her anyway. She never appreciated it before. I always kept that bowl of soup warm on the stove, just so she could have a hot meal when she returned. Looking at Tiffany and Chad's wedding photo, my heart ached. I tried to calm myself and packed all my belongings. Since we had broken up, I shouldn't stay here anymore. After packing my things, I realized the house had become empty. It was then that I belatedly understood that Tiffany had been coming home less and less often, though I couldn't pinpoint when it started. Just as I was about to leave, a heavy rain started, and no driver was willing to accept a fare, so I had no choice but to stay another night. I was too lazy to cook, so I ordered takeout. Just as I was buried in my meal, Tiffany returned. She was still wearing a white shirt, but there was a strange mark on her neck. Seeing my gaze fall on it, she awkwardly pulled her collar up higher. She clutched her stomach, her face somewhat pale. Seeing the takeout I had ordered, Tiffany angrily demanded, "Why didn't you cook? Don't you know what day it is today? You're eating takeout?" Hearing Tiffany's words, I actually laughed out loud. Seeing me laugh, Tiffany became even angrier. She swept the takeout off the table onto the floor. The liquids mixed into a mess, much like our love. Tiffany roared, "What is your attitude? Do you want to stay together or not?" I said nothing, merely wiping the sauce that had splashed onto me. Looking at Tiffany, whose chest was heaving with anger, I smiled faintly. "Isn't today your wedding day with Chad? This should be your wedding night. It's not appropriate for you to be here." Tiffany's eyes reddened from anger. She was fuming. She raised her hand and slapped me hard. "How many times do I have to tell you? Chad and I are just a sham marriage. His family was pressuring him, so I thought it'd help him out. As a man, can't you be more magnanimous?" "Don't be so petty." I was slapped so hard my head was spinning, my mind a blank. The taste of blood spread in my mouth. Tiffany hit me really hard, but no matter how hard she hit me, no matter how much pain she caused, it didn't compare to the pain in my heart. I smiled dismissively and turned to go back to my room. Tiffany panicked, grabbing my hand and asking what I meant. Tiffany's touch disgusted me, and I quickly shook her hand off. My sudden movement caught Tiffany off guard. She stumbled a few steps, looking at me in disbelief. I turned my head, not looking at Tiffany's expression, and simply asked, "What do you want?" Tiffany pursed her red lips and said, "Chad and I are having a wedding. He doesn't have many friends, so I want you to be his best man." Tiffany's brazen words were like a sharp blade piercing me, leaving me bleeding profusely. I stared fixedly at Tiffany, searching for a trace of guilt on her face, but I was mistaken. She showed no hint of guilt. It was as if this was something that was perfectly natural, something I was expected to do. My chest ached to the point of suffocation, seeing my silence. Tiffany frowned tightly. "What do you mean by this?" Normally, when Tiffany frowned, I would immediately console her, but now, looking at her frown, I only felt absurdity. I asked her, "Why should I?" Yes, why should I? I was her boyfriend of 8 years, and she was marrying someone else. Yet she expected me to be his best man. Who would be a boyfriend like that? Tiffany paused, looking at me as if I were an idiot, but the words that came out of her mouth chilled me to the bone. "Just look at yourself. Being Chad's best man is already you reaching above your station. Besides, you walking down the aisle with me, it'll be like our wedding. It's killing two birds with one stone." Hearing the condescension in her tone, my heart utterly died. Without thinking, I rejected Tiffany's charity. Tiffany was enraged. She pointed her finger at me and launched into a scolding, telling me I would regret it. As she was scolding, her phone suddenly rang. Tiffany picked it up, and her expression instantly softened. It was Chad. Tiffany spoke gently to Chad for a few moments before hanging up, then looked at me with utter disgust. "I don't know what I ever saw in you. You're nothing like Chad. Chad even called specifically to ask me to consider your feelings. Why can't you consider our feelings? You're so selfish. Since you're ungrateful, then get out, outside." Heavy rain was falling. I was kicked out by Tiffany, looking at the cold doorframe. My heart was filled with a bitter ache. I pulled out my old phone. The crack on the screen was obvious, but I had always been reluctant to replace it. Flipping through my contacts, I realized I couldn't find a single friend to confide in. Tiffany and I attended college in Silverwood. After graduation, she moved to Avalon City to pursue her career. I couldn't bear to leave her, so I gave up a high-paying job and came to Avalon City alone, just to be her support system. In Avalon City, I had no friends, no acquaintances. The only person I relied on was Tiffany. I poured my heart out for Tiffany, only to be kicked out by her now. How ironic. I sat on the cold stairwell floor, my hands clutching my head, crying silently to myself. I don't know how long passed, but I felt someone standing in front of me. I looked up in surprise. I thought Tiffany still had some affection for me, but I was disappointed. Standing before me was a woman in business attire. Her face was pale, but she looked at me with concern. Seeing the tears on my face and my luggage beside me, a hint of confusion flashed in her eyes, but she asked nothing, simply offering me a tissue. It wasn't until I was standing on her living room floor that I fully registered what was happening. The woman poured me a cup of warm tea. Seeing me standing awkwardly by the entryway, looking helpless, she smiled faintly. "Why are you just standing there? There are slippers in the shoe cabinet, new ones that no one has worn." I drank the warm tea, the churning in my stomach subsided, and I finally felt alive again. The woman had the same last name as me and was called Victoria. She was very talkative, and she patiently answered any questions I had. We chatted happily into the night. Seeing my weary expression, she thoughtfully prepared pajamas for me. Looking at Victoria, I felt a little embarrassed. "Thank you. Aren't you afraid I'm a bad person, just taking me home like this?" Victoria chuckled. "Not anymore. What bad person would ask that? And what bad person carries luggage to do bad things? I've seen you before. You're a resident of this building, aren't you?" At last year's fire safety awareness event, you brought homemade cookies to the firefighters. I was there too. When I woke up the next day, seeing the unfamiliar surroundings, I was disoriented for a moment. After a while, it clicked. I had broken up with Tiffany. She had kicked me out, and I was now in a stranger's house. This was an experience that the old me would never have dared to imagine. I picked up my phone. It was only 5 o'clock. I tried to go back to sleep, but I couldn't. When I was still with Tiffany, I would wake up at 5 to busy myself in the kitchen, just so she could have a nutritious breakfast. Now, it had become my biological clock. I simply sat up, went to the kitchen, and opened the refrigerator. It was well stocked, but several items had expired. I threw the expired items into the trash and started making breakfast. When Victoria woke up, I had already prepared breakfast and even stewed some soup. Seeing the breakfast I had laid out on the table, Victoria's eyes lit up. She took a deep breath. It smells so good. It looks like I'm lucky to have such a feast this morning. I won't have to eat dry bread anymore. I looked at her loose pajamas, my face a little red. Victoria also realized, quickly returning to her room. When she emerged again, she was back to her sharp, professional powerhouse self. Victoria ate with great enjoyment, praising my cooking skills as she ate, which truly boosted my morale. I felt a little dazed. Normally, at this time, Tiffany would scornfully look at the delicious-looking meal on the table, then say she was on a diet and refuse to eat a single bite. She thought it was embarrassing for a man like me to enjoy cooking. This was the first time anyone had ever praised me for it. After we finished eating, Victoria volunteered to do the dishes. I felt uncomfortable letting her clean up alone, so I helped her. Victoria asked me, "What are you planning to do now? Where will you go?" I shook my head. Honestly, I didn't know what there was left in Avalon City for me to linger for, but after graduating from college, I had just stayed at home. Although I earned some income from my artwork, I had no work experience yet. I was unwilling to go back to Silverwood, not because I was afraid of being embarrassed, but because I didn't want Ethan's parents to worry. Victoria then asked if I had anywhere to live, and I still shook my head. She dried her hands, smiling as she told me, "How about this? You can stay at my place. You don't need to do much, just help me cook every day. My stomach isn't good, and the doctor told me to eat less takeout. The meals my nannies make aren't as good as yours, of course." "I don't mean to treat you like a nanny." Victoria hastily explained what she meant, looking at her sincere eyes. I slowly nodded. I didn't have much money, and I didn't find cooking for others embarrassing. On the contrary, I loved to cook, so I stayed at Victoria's house. During that time, Tiffany didn't call once. I thought she had given up on me, that she had already thrown herself into the arms of the person she loved under my daily nourishing home-cooked meals. Victoria's pale face began to gain some color. She was overjoyed, seeing my old phone. She even bought me a new one. I finished a painting for an online client, and they promptly transferred the payment for the artwork to me. Looking at the new phone in Victoria's hand, I felt a little embarrassed. I was about to refuse when Victoria interrupted me. "Don't say you won't take it. I've been incredibly energetic at work lately, all thanks to your nourishing home-cooked meals. We're friends. Why be so calculating?" I smiled. Victoria didn't want to waste the beautiful weekend, so she took me out shopping. She took me to buy several clothes. Every time I refused, she would frown, looking displeased. She styled me from head to toe, and finally, she led me to a huge mirror. The man in the mirror was stylishly dressed, with a melancholic gaze, unlike my usual disheveled and unkempt self. Victoria clapped her hands, praising me incessantly. Her phone rang, and she walked aside to answer it. I looked at the stranger in the mirror, recalling Victoria's compliments, and felt a blush creep up my face. Just then, a harsh voice cut through the air. "Ethan?" I turned my head and saw Tiffany. She was holding Chad's hand, looking at me with disdain. "You country hick, what are you doing here? Can you even afford anything in this place?" I smiled bitterly, not wanting to engage with her. Chad, meanwhile, looked at Tiffany with loving eyes, feigned concern as he tried to persuade her. "Don't say such things. Ethan just wants to get your attention. What's wrong with that? Our Tiffany is so beautiful. It's normal for him to regret it." Tiffany looked at me with disgust. "Who cares about his affection? It's repulsive. Just thinking that I was with someone like him for 8 years makes me sick. What kind of boyfriend was he? He was just a doormat. I didn't even let him touch me." "Chad, you're the only one I love. I kept myself pure just for you." Tiffany was eager to distance herself from me. Even though I no longer loved her, my heart still ached a little. So all those times she adamantly refused to be intimate with me, claiming she was frigid, were all lies. She only had Chad in her heart. Seeing the hurt in my eyes, Tiffany became even more triumphant. She began to criticize me to Chad, saying I was lacking ambition and that I was a country hick from the rural area. She belittled me to no end, and the people around us stopped pointing and whispering about me. I felt like I was breaking down, and just as I was about to leave, Victoria's voice suddenly rang out. "Ethan loves you and naturally wants to cherish you, but he's not a doormat. Don't insult him." Tiffany's expression changed when she heard Victoria's words. She looked at me disdainfully. "Ethan, You said you loved me, but you found a new partner so quickly. When she saw Victoria's face, her expression instantly changed, and she stammered, Ms. Harrington. Victoria ignored her, which made Tiffany embarrassed. Tiffany said, Ms. Harrington, don't let Ethan trick you. This person. Victoria cut her off. Ethan is a very good person. You just didn't have the luck. Tiffany's face turned ugly, seeing Chad beside her. She seemed to remember something and suddenly became triumphant. Ms. Harrington, you're the only one who treats a worthless person like a treasure. Chad is 1,000 times better than him. And besides, Chad is the heir to the Sterling family. I'm going to be Mrs. Sterling. Victoria finally looked at Chad. Then a faint smile touched her lips. Tiffany, since you were once my subordinate, I'll warn you about this Chad next to you. He's nothing but an illegitimate son of the Sterling family. What kind of heir is he? He's also deep in debt. He can only deceive shallow and materialistic women like you. Victoria's words made Tiffany instantly furious. What do you mean? Victoria glanced at her without saying anything. Tiffany, screaming hysterically, said, Ms. Harrington, what are you talking about? Are you jealous of me? Jealous that I'll become Mrs. Sterling? Upon hearing this, Victoria scoffed. Chad, unable to tolerate it any longer, pulled the frenzied Tiffany away. Enough. Are you done being crazy? Aren't you embarrassed enough? Tiffany looked at him sharply, her eyes full of tears. Victoria suddenly spoke, I was just making it up, but I don't need to be jealous of you. I can build my career on my own. You just focus on your Chad, and be careful he doesn't dump you. You should know that prominent families have a lot of drama, and there's rarely any genuine affection among them. Tiffany looked at her resentfully. Chad and I love each other. He's marrying me because of Mr. Sterling Sr.'s will, to marry to fulfill the will for inheritance. Victoria ignored her and pulled me away. On the way back, I felt a little worried. Will this cause you any trouble today? Victoria smiled. What's there to be afraid of? 10. The Sterlings can't compare to the Harringtons. I'm the only heir to the Harringtons. Even Mr. Sterling Sr. himself, if he were alive, would still have to defer to me. Let alone Chad, that illegitimate son. Victoria patted my hand reassuringly. Don't worry, I don't live in the Harringtons estate because it's close to the company, and this is my mother's former house. I felt a little guilty. It's all because of me. You were supposed to have a wonderful weekend. Victoria stopped the car and led me into the grocery store. Then you can cook me a lavish meal tonight to make it up to me. Victoria's smile was bright. Looking at her radiant smile, my heavy heart gradually lightened. We picked out ingredients we wanted to eat together in the grocery store. At the checkout, Victoria suddenly called out, Husband, can you help me carry this? I can't manage it. I was stunned. On the way back, Victoria said, You men need to save face when you go out. And I didn't want you to pay. A chef's hands shouldn't touch other things. I felt a little touched. For so many years, no one had ever considered my feelings like this. Although I'm not concerned with appearances, my heart felt warm. In the past, when I went out with Tiffany, she would complain that I was unstylish, scolding me for being a kept man while she paid. Now, someone was finally looking out for me. On the way back, a little girl stopped us, holding a bouquet of flowers. Mister, buy a bouquet for the pretty lady. I placed the bouquet in Victoria's hand. You'll have to let me pay for this then. The casually chosen flowers looked somewhat elegant under Victoria's smiling face. After dinner, I saw someone online looking for me to do a painting. After Victoria and I cleaned up, I went into my room to paint. Victoria appeared behind me at some point. She watched me skillfully finish the background, just as I was stretching. Seeing Victoria, I was a little surprised. Victoria looked at my painting. May I see it? Your previous paintings. Do you mind? I smiled and stood up. Of course not. She flipped through my paintings one by one, her eyes full of admiration. After she finished, she rested her chin in her hands, her eyes filled with regret. Ethan, has anyone ever told you that your painting skills are excellent? Almost like those of a master? I scratched my head. Actually, someone had told me my paintings were very good before, back when I was in college, but after I started dating Tiffany, I became increasingly insecure. Tiffany believed that painting was not a proper career, something only people who don't go to college would consider pursuing. She liked music, liked the piano. After I finished speaking, Victoria sighed regretfully. Ethan, you were truly held back by Tiffany for 8 years, but it's not too late now. The first step will be a bit difficult. But are you willing to take that most challenging first step? The Harringtons designers are all very capable people, and I think you have great ability, but you don't have work experience. At this point, Victoria paused. I thought she was going to suggest I start as a small assistant, and I was about to tell her I didn't mind, that on the contrary, I cherished this hard-won opportunity. But to my surprise, Victoria said, coincidentally, we have a project coming up. I can pull strings for you, but in everyone's eyes, you'll be a favored hire. Everyone will be watching you. You'll need to convince them with your ability. Can you do it? I was astonished. Victoria wanted me to skip being an assistant and go straight to being a designer. I instinctively blurted out no. But looking at Victoria's trusting gaze, my resolve gradually strengthened. I heard my voice firm. I can do it. It's true I was a student from a rural area. I had an average background and was not very fashion conscious, but I'm very good with color. That's my strength. From childhood to adulthood, I've been excellent in character and academics. I can do anything well, and I can do this now too. I had even forgotten that I used to be someone people looked up to. The day after I agreed to Victoria's proposal, she took me to the company. As I stepped through the company's revolving glass door, I saw Tiffany. Tiffany was wearing business attire, her figure lithe and graceful. Seeing her again, my mood was incredibly calm. I had let go of the past. When she saw me, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. Then she swayed her hips and walked up. Ethan, are you here to apply for a job? You haven't worked in 6 years. Don't come setting yourself up for humiliation. I smiled faintly. No, I'm here to start a job. Tiffany looked even more surprised, but then she saw Victoria behind me, and a look of understanding mixed with disdain flashed in her eyes. Oh, Ms. Harrington is pulling strings for you. I didn't realize you could get Ms. Harrington to pull strings. You must make Ms. Harrington very happy, I suppose. I never thought such a vulgar thing could come out of Tiffany's mouth. Tiffany spoke loudly, and everyone present heard her. I suddenly felt uncomfortable. I didn't want Victoria to be subjected to whispers and judgment because of me. Victoria said, Tiffany, you're not Mrs. Sterling yet, so it's best you act normal in front of me, or I'll have to fire you. It's true I brought Ethan in, but I've personally witnessed his talent. There's no impropriety in my decision. Tiffany, you dumped your poor ex-boyfriend to latch onto the Sterling family's son. What nerve do you have to look down on Ethan? Victoria's words made Tiffany's face turn ashen. She glared at us fiercely. Victoria and I took the private elevator. I asked her, do you really trust me that much? Victoria smiled. I'm a businesswoman. I don't see people the way Tiffany does. The only reason I kept Tiffany around was because there was still profit I could exploit from her. Hearing Victoria's words, a strange pang of disappointment washed over my heart. I knew what Victoria said was true. She was a rational person, but I still felt a little disappointed. Though I didn't know why, Victoria said nothing. When the elevator stopped and the doors opened, Victoria suddenly reached out and pinched my cheek, smiling playfully. Are you upset? I was speechless, unsure what to say. Victoria said, if a person wants everyone to be convinced, they must have their own value. This is an exploitation. It's mutually beneficial. Such a relationship lasts the longest because each person has something they need from the other, and then emotions act as a bonding agent, making them inseparable, unable to do without each other. After starting the job, I became very busy. I knew everyone looked down on me as a favored hire, but due to Victoria's presence, their attitude towards me was merely cool. I shamelessly asked them professional questions. Their eyes were full of disdain for me, but they would still answer my questions. After a while, the disdain in their eyes disappeared, and they treated me like any other colleague. Victoria was right. If a person wants everyone to be convinced, they must have their own value. I became very busy, waking up every day and diving into books, into various fashion magazines, analyzing their characteristics. Victoria stayed by my side as well. She was like an encyclopedia. If I had questions, she would answer them. I was so busy I didn't even have time to cook. I felt a little guilty. But Victoria waved her hand. I prefer the proactive you. It lets me see your potential shining through. Ethan, just do your thing. I support you. She took over the household chores and would cook sometimes, but more often than not, we ate takeout. One day, as I was struggling with a proposal and wanted to ask Victoria for her opinion, I unexpectedly overheard her chatting with someone from the Harringtons. She called the person Uncle Arthur. Uncle Arthur asked her, somewhat puzzled, are you so sure this person can take on a big responsibility? What if he can't handle it, and you end up being embarrassed? Can you be responsible for the losses? Victoria said firmly, I can. There's nothing more satisfying than polishing a diamond in the rough. Uncle Arthur, trust me, and trust him. He will surely bring me a great miracle. Hearing this, my heart was conflicted. No one had ever believed in me so steadfastly, only Victoria, so I completely immersed myself in the sea of knowledge, soaking up information like a sponge. It was busy, but I felt fulfilled. No longer did I have to spend all day at home, watching TV, waiting for Tiffany to come home. No one gave me dirty looks anymore, and I made several friends, both close ones and acquaintances. The person they saw me as was someone the old me could never have imagined. Victoria also got busy. There was an overseas business deal she needed to negotiate. I went to and from work alone, but I never felt lonely because Victoria would video call me every day, occasionally. On my way to or from work, young women would stop me and ask for my contact information. I told Victoria about it as a joke, but Victoria didn't laugh. She looked at me, her eyes deep, and said seriously, Ethan, you don't realize how charming you are now. On the night the project concluded, I dodged the cheering crowd and went to the rooftop to call Victoria. Well, know the test results tomorrow. Thank you. I had wanted to ask Victoria if she would come, but hearing her tired voice, I swallowed my words. Victoria's voice was weary after 2 or 3 sentences. She was called away by someone. I clutched my phone, the one Victoria had given me. I looked at the starry sky, feeling as though I had been completely transformed. Tiffany suddenly sat down beside me. Her slightly rounded belly was visible, and her fair face had a few freckles. She looked haggard. It seemed she hadn't been doing well lately either. Tiffany said, "You truly surprised me. I thought Victoria brought you in just passing time. I never expected you to be doing so well." Looking at Tiffany, the resentment and unhappiness in my heart vanished. I was even able to chat with her peacefully. This time, the topic of our conversation wasn't about me being unable to keep up with her. Instead, it was she who couldn't keep up with my words. Tiffany also realized this, and her face fell. She sighed softly and suddenly started talking about Chad. Chad and I are childhood sweethearts. He used to take such good care of me. After my parents divorced, neither of them wanted me, and he was the one who patted his chest and said he would protect me forever. We stumbled through life together as we grew up. Those times were really tough, but I still felt they were sweet. The year we were supposed to go to college, Chad couldn't get into one. He kept avoiding me and wouldn't see me. I threatened to end my life before he finally showed up. He told me he loved me but didn't want to hold me back. That day, we became a couple, but then Chad suddenly broke up with me and disappeared. When I met you, I felt you were very much like Chad, even though you look nothing alike. I inexplicably felt that when you helped me up. You were so much like Chad. All these years, I wanted to be with you properly, but fate decreed that Chad and I would reunite. We met again. I always knew Chad was the illegitimate son of the Sterling family. He left me to protect me, and he only returned after he became the heir to the Sterling family and was capable of protecting me. We've been together for so many years, and I can't bear to leave you. But Chad, so I thought about marrying Chad to fulfill my wish from when I was 18. But Ethan, in matters of the heart, there's no right or wrong. I found that I simply couldn't leave Chad. I can only apologize to you. Fortunately, you've gotten back on your feet. Can we be good friends? Listening to Tiffany, I felt only profound irony deep down. I also remembered what Victoria had told me. As long as you have value, everyone will be good to you. I am no saint, and I am unwilling to repay evil with good. I said coldly, no, because I don't want to. Also, congratulations on marrying into prominent families. The project we were responsible for received an excellent response. The designers on the team finally let go of their last reservation and warmly embraced me. I knew I had been officially recognized by them. At the celebration party, I felt a bit enthusiastic. After so many events, I finally understood why I felt this way. It was because of Victoria. On that night, Victoria extended a hand to me when I was homeless. I wanted to share my happiness with Victoria, but she was busy these days, and I didn't want her to rush back and forth. I drank red wine and chatted with friends. The life I had now was something I dared not even dream of before. Tiffany still tried to approach me, but I was surrounded by too many people. She could only stand off to the side, her eyes filled with sadness. I felt no emotion, only a sense of disgust. I hadn't seen Tiffany recently. Seeing her today, she looked even more haggard, and her stomach was flat again. I felt the air was a bit stuffy, and after excusing myself to my friends, I went to the backyard. Tiffany, haunting me, appeared beside me. She gripped my hand, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, I was wrong. Please forgive me," she cried as she spoke to me. I pulled my hand away, my expression calm. Tiffany realized I no longer loved her, and she began to panic. I didn't want to be with Tiffany, so I turned to leave. But she suddenly hugged my waist. "Ethan, don't leave me. I know I was wrong. Let's reconcile. I will treat you well. We'll get our marriage certificate tomorrow. Take wedding photos. Bring Ethan's parents back, and I even want to have a child with you." I forcefully pried her hands away. Tiffany asked me in despair, "Ethan, do you like Victoria? The Harringtons are incredibly wealthy and powerful compared to the Sterlings. They won't acknowledge you. Besides, Victoria doesn't truly love you. She's just playing with you like a pet. Only I love you the most." Even after all this time, Tiffany was still thick-skinned. She could still say these things so self-righteously. It was my past tolerance that made her think I was still the doormat from back then. I originally didn't want to say much to her, but she started scolding Victoria, and I was fed up. I impatiently interrupted her. "Tiffany, you truly disgust me. All these years, I always yielded to your whims. You treated me like a doormat, using your so-called anti-marriage stance to fob me off, then turned around and eagerly ran off to marry Chad. And you said you'd bring Ethan's parents over. Back then, you disdained Ethan's parents for being country hicks. You thought they were dirty. Ethan's parents knew enough to go back. What more do you want?" I don't want to have a child with you. I'm afraid it will inherit your selfish, calculating, and cold-hearted nature. How the Harringtons are is their business. I don't care if they don't acknowledge me. I will make them acknowledge me. Victoria isn't playing with me like a pet. She helped me when I was homeless, gave me face, and allowed me to become a new man. What does it matter if she loves me? I can pursue her. As soon as I finished speaking, Victoria's voice rang out. All right, I accept your pursue. Tiffany's face turned white when she saw Victoria. She covered her face and cried mournfully. Even you don't want me anymore. What should I do? Chad is a liar, a scumbag. He tricked me. When he was little, he wanted to trick me into becoming his child bride. That's why he tricked me. The year he confessed to me, because he couldn't get into college and didn't want me to either. He tricked me again, took me, and then went home and acknowledged his biological family. If it weren't for my kidney match being the same as his father's, he wouldn't have come looking for me. I'm just their kidney donor, and I thought Chad had an unspoken difficulty. I was wrong. I was all wrong. Tiffany broke down crying. She looked at Victoria and my fingers intertwined, then turned and ran. Victoria was a bit worried. She won't harm herself, will she? I shook my head. Probably not. The person she loves most is herself. Even if she does harm herself, it's what she deserved. I never kick her when she's down. She brought it upon herself. Victoria smiled, holding my hand. Victoria and I got together. The next day, she took me back to the Harringtons. I originally thought the Harringtons wouldn't be pleased, but when they saw me, they seemed to see a relative. That's when I realized what a force of nature Victoria was. I was the only one who could reason with her. A few more months passed. After Victoria finished her work by working overtime, she pulled me, who was drawing design drafts, onto a plane. We made several transfers and set foot on the rural area I was most familiar with. This area was very dirty, with animal droppings. Victoria carefully avoided them, but there wasn't a hint of disgust on her face. She came with me to my home, looking at Ethan's parents who were working. She held Ethan's parents' hands, about to kneel to show respect, but fortunately, I stopped her. Victoria looked at me with a bewildered expression. Only kneeling can express my respect to the greatest extent. I am truly grateful to Ethan's parents for bringing you into this world. We didn't know whether to laugh or cry. We brought Ethan's parents back to Avalon City. Victoria bought a large house and told Ethan's parents I bought it. I amusedly corrected Victoria. She was truly going to great lengths to save face for me, but I wasn't concerned with appearances. I could be a kept man playfully. Soon we got married. The day Victoria got pregnant, I saw a news report. Tiffany, while Chad was asleep, raised a knife and killed him, then cried and ran to the police station to surrender. When interviewing Tiffany, she admitted to her crimes without reservation. The last sentence she gave the reporter was, "Can everyone hear what I'm saying? I want to say I'm sorry, and I wish you all the best and a happy life."